everybody, it's Dave here from Vikings First and Skull, and joining me today are my friends from the Bear Claw podcast and Bleachers to Speakers. We're going to be talking the NFC North today, trying to find out what all is happening. Smoke seems to be in the air everywhere. Smoke screens going like crazy, at least for the Minnesota Vikings. I want to find out if they're happening for the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears as well. All next on Who Will Be King? Let the battles begin. Welcome again. We're going to be deciding who will be king. But first, there was news today of a big trade that interests Vikings fans. It was Stefon Diggs going down to the Houston Texans. Pay, how did you feel about that trade when it was announced?
So the first thing I went to go find out is what was the compensation, because as a Chicago Bears fan, I'm always interested in wide receiver compensation as they move around the league. Why am I interested in that? Because my general manager likes to overpay for wide receivers. So I always want to know, like, what else is going on around the league? What's the going rate for some of these players? But outside of that, just coming outside of being as it arrives at my doorstep as a fan of the Chicago Bears, I felt like it just further proves that the feeling around the league is that this is a very deep wide receiver class. Like, you can move off a wide receiver and go get you another one and be right back to where you were, if not this year, 2 years down the line, at worst. Um, yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind. I don't want to go on all day about it. What were some of your other thoughts?
Well, I was curious, how would you compare this trade for Diggs versus you guys getting Keenan Allen?
Uh, I kind of see it in the same breath, as far as teams feeling the draft is wide receiver deep. San Diego, not San Diego, but the L.A. Chargers, still call them San Diego. The L.A. Chargers, they got off a wide receiver who's getting paid a pretty penny, and up there in age, and in his last year of his contract, and said, you know what, even though he's probably the best returning player on offense, we can move on from him and go get somebody younger and be right back with our premier quarterback. The same thing arrives to the thought process of Buffalo. Buffalo's still the best team in that division. And even though Diggs is a very huge piece of that offense, he's like, you know what? We can get a wide receiver at our draft position, no matter where it is, and we right back to where we were in the next few years. Because even though you will take a back step now in the interim, in the first year or however long, there's, like I said, they're still far and away the best team in that division. So they've got some room to play with.
I gotcha. Foster, did you have any opinion on that? You're leaning in like you want to jump in.
Oh, I mean, that team is going to be stacked. I mean, they were already pretty good as is, and you just gave Stroud another weapon to play with. So, and their defense is pretty tough as well. So, should be. I think the Lions play them next year. This year coming up.
I do believe we play the AFC South. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, should be interesting. Should be interesting.
Hmm. June, how are things up in Detroit?
Oh man, it's going, man. It's nothing slow motion, man. Just slow motion. Just waiting for this waiting for the draft now, pretty much. Just Cam Cam Sutton turned himself in. I mean, he's no longer a Lion, but that's the biggest news this week that he's healthy physically and he has turned himself in. And there's I think what is it, June 1st, Foster, when that money is free?
Yeah, yeah. He turned himself in for his little misdemeanor, his little slap on the hand or whatever, and yeah,
Misdemeanor. Wow.
that's what
So
they that's what they say. I don't even know what the misdemeanor charge was.
I was referring to the Lions money, the money that's free. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. My bad. Yeah, yeah. The June
Oh,
1st is when the money
okay.
we
No,
get it back or something.
yeah, so
Wow.
I
Mr.
don't think
Mean,
I don't think the Lions are going to make a move until after June 1st as far as any other pickups, and I think it'll be wise for the corners that's out there that want to come to Detroit. Wait till then because there'll be more money available. So I don't know.
We
misdemeanor
made a
for
few little minor
strangulation.
moves.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, for
well, yeah. I don't. Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is that we did re-sign Kendall Vildor, and we matched the signing sheet that the 49ers um,
hmm
submitted for Brock Wright, so he's coming back as well. Um, so yeah, the Vildor move is kind of a minor move, but he did start for us the tail end of last year at the cornerback position. So we're um, you know
It's
continuing to rebuild the depth that we were losing at cornerback.
Are you happy with that Vildor re-signing?
I am, just because he'll be in a more comfortable role next year in that slot depth type position. He won't be asked to play starting outside cornerback next year, unless a lot of crazy things happen. So I'm totally fine with him coming back in the appropriate role.
Doesn't he join Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, and Emmanuel Mosley, who he re-signed, along with Stephen Gilmore
Correct.
in the room?
Correct.
That room's getting pretty full pretty quick.
It
well,
is. Yeah, it is. It is.
What, June?
Fill back up, didn't
June, I
it?
thought you wanted corners in the draft.
yeah, and it feels like we got a bunch of fifth place ribbons on the wall with this.
Fifth place. Jeez.
Well, with that, does that shift your focus or the team's focus? Do you think they're going more edge?
I definitely think at 29 you go edge. I'm not. I won't be surprised. I never agree with anything that Brad Holmes does. So I definitely, me personally, I go edge and then corner in the second, but I'm always wrong, like
We're
100% of the
really
time.
bad at picking corners, though. If you really look at the history of the corners that we selected, I don't think any of them have panned out, to be honest.
Well, it depends if you consider Branch corner.
Which I wouldn't. I would not per se, but
But I mean, other than
that's
that,
a
you're dead on. I mean, no, it
yeah.
hasn't.
I think they're just tough. They're just tough to pick. Certainly at 29, it's even.
Minnesota's tried for years and had
Yeah, it's
mixed
tough.
results. So, speaking of corners, Nick Riley asked, for the Packers fans that are watching, do you expect Jordan Love to take a step back as teams have more film on him?
Certainly hope so.
That's all I can say. Yeah.
I know, Pay, you guys have wanted to beat the Packers for forever, and they have beat us all last year, if I remember correctly. And he's on.
Yes, yeah, he's good.
My mistake. Yeah, so all I had to say was very succinct. Packers suck. Nick, the question is, will Jordan Love take a step back? I don't know if he took a real step forward last season. I mean,
Whoa.
he had a hot second half. Yeah, but we've seen second half blips before, right? Um, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's wise. I also don't think it's um, appropriate to assume that the second half Jordan Love is the real Jordan Love. The first half Jordan Love is more so up and down, barely better than average, right? So I would prefer to say that they're still what you think they are, than to assume him included is ascending into some sort of untapped space in the NFL. I mean, let's take a breathe. Take a breather on this for right now.
Pay is a tough crowd, man. Pay is a tough crowd.
Well, I know the
No
Vikings
respect on the Cowboys win.
had a quarterback that did the same thing. We named a month after him, Kirktober. He was great during October, but there was other times he was. So that may be the case with Jordan Love. Let's hope so. Let's hope he takes that step back.
I can't lie. Jordan Love looked very scary the second half of the season, man.
That game he played against you all on Thanksgiving, yes, I know that was pretty scary. It scared me.
It was other games as well, not just us. It was other games.
What about the Cowboys game? Like, they won a playoff game this year.
The Dallas game, he did not miss. There's a couple of games even after they played the Lions. He looked like the person. He looked like a professional quarterback.
And for those that are watching, you're going to have to go way back to when we started this podcast to figure out what all that's about.
And I hope he's not. I hope you're right, Pay. I mean, I don't want him to do well. I just think he's good. I think he's really good. So,
well, since we tend to neglect the Packers a bit, yes, Bob, they signed Greg Joseph. I think that's funny. Greg Joseph was the Vikings kicker. He tends to miss kicks. So now, of course, Vikings luck, that means he's going to hit everything. So I don't know how good or bad this is going to be. But talking about them, we're looking at their draft needs. And I have a quote from their GM or president or whatever the name of their head cheese is up there in Green Bay, Mr. Gutekunst. He said, quote, "I'll tell you what Ted Thompson always told us and believed, and we still believe. We have no idea what our needs are going to be 6 months from now, particularly with the college draft. We go into there trying to take the best players available. I think subconsciously needs come into play, and certainly if you have guys rated equally where you might have some need at the moment, it could come into play. But again, where we are going to sit in September, October, and November could be completely different. We look at it more holistically and try to get the best players we can. Now, the word use of holistically makes me wonder, first off, was he, doing the peyote with Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah.
Could be. Does he have a plan? We don't know. Is he going to turn out to be as good as Ted Thompson? Lord, hope not, but we'll find out. Now, what needs they do have are reported to be cornerback, like we started out with you guys, June and Foster. They need cornerbacks. They need an offensive tackle. They need a safety. They could use some interior O-line, and I know that feeling. Pay should too. And a running back to add to their running back field. So, do you see the Packers going into the draft getting who they want? Or what position?
I don't. I think the Packers are like most teams right now. Just they're assuming that this draft is extremely deep into certain areas, and um, they're just going to have to settle for best player available. And I'm not using the word settle as a pejorative either. It's a lot of good talent out there, but as you said, the Packers' number one need is on the line, right? They did just get rid of their maybe Hall of Fame left tackle. They do have some other holes along that line. Now, where they're drafting it, would that be the best position to just reach for? I don't think the better players will be available at that point. But so they might be in a position to trade back to actually draft for need if that's what they want to do. But I'm always anti-drafting back unless you're actually a good team. And 9 wins is not a good team.
It's It's mediocre. Whether you make the playoffs or not, it's mediocre.
Exactly.
In a 17-game season. Speaking of projected wins in around 9, Vegas has come out with the pre-draft projected win totals. They have Green Bay at 9.5. They won 9 last year. So they think they're going to improve by half a game. Could be.
Or they're playing on the fancies of Green Bay Packer fans. And you say, you know what? Let's dangle us out there for them. Let's get some money. Because
let's get some easy money.
Let's get some of that easy money off of them.
Could be. Well, Pay, for your Chicago Bears, they have you pre-draft projected at 8.5 wins. And you had 7 last year. So that's an upping of a win and a half. Now, I think they are projecting that Caleb Williams will be the quarterback this season. Because it's like 99.99% set in stone already.
Most of the sports books that I've looked at, they also have Caleb Williams as a minus 5,000 favorite to be the number one pick. So yeah, I would agree that yes, they are projecting that Caleb Williams will be the Chicago Bears starting quarterback week 1. It makes sense, right? So, an upgrade of a win and a half in the National Football League is no small order. Especially for a team that won 7 games last year. And if you listen to the last episode of the Bear Claw pod that debuted today, we won 7 while fumbling away another 5. So if you put us at 8.5 right now, that's your projection. You better put that slip in now. Go ahead and put your money into that future right now because that's going to cash.
Mm-hmm. Now, Vegas does have a clear winner in the NFC North. Unfortunately, it's not the Vikings. It happens to be the Detroit Lions, projected at 10.5 wins after going 12 wins last season. June, you think they're going to make that? Beat 10.5? Are you betting the over?
I'm betting on at least 11 games.
Foster?
Betting on at least 11.
You that confident?
Yeah, I do see. I can kind of see how they might have knocked it down a little, just because I think the division. Well, it's still yet to be seen on the Vikings because they don't have a quarterback really, but I feel like the Bears are getting better. I feel like the Packers. I don't know. I'm not so certain on the Packers, but
there you go.
But yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I would bet the over on that. I would hope so anyways. That might be wishful thinking. I don't know.
Well, I do think the division is getting better. But Vegas does not like what Minnesota's done so far, and they do not like the fact that Sam Darnold may be our starting quarterback. They projected the Vikings at 6.5 wins total.
Oof.
I think that's an easy bet. I'd throw the ticket down today for the over because I can't see them doing worse than last season. All I can see is it doing better. We've improved our defense. 6.5 is too low. But we all play each other, and that's where you can beat up on each other. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not sure how it's all going to go. Do any of you guys play overseas this year? Vikings play in England.
I believe I haven't. I don't know offhand. I believe the Bears are owed an overseas game since they didn't do theirs last year. Thanks, Chiefs. So,
You would have
in
heard by
fact, you know
now
what?
if you did.
We do. We play in London. I believe is I was about to say October. I'm hoping it's in October, but we do play in London.
Okay, we do, and it is rumored that we're playing an AFC North team, not the Colts. So, don't know who that's going to be. And that's not the North, that's the South, isn't it? Anyways, we're playing one of those. South. We're playing an AFC South team. So it should be interesting. And I think we're the home team on that one. And it'll be at Tottenham Spur Stadium. Which I hope
we play Arizona in London. That'll be a dope game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beat them. We need an easy win for all the Brits to see.
Would help. Now, are you guys? I teased it at the beginning. We call this smoke season. Everybody is sitting there. Each team is spewing out what I consider smoke. They're trying to manipulate the board. Agents of players are spewing out stuff, trying to manipulate the board. It's hitting the Twitter sphere all over the place, seeing all sorts of crazy stuff, but it's also hitting mainstream press reports. I'll give an example. Kevin Seifert of ESPN is reporting that Minnesota has a plan if they need to start Sam Darnold for the entire year, and that they may be looking to go get their quarterback of the future in the 2025 draft, being either Shedeur Sanders or Ewers out of Texas. Now, he did quantify that this time of year you may get some stuff that isn't quite right, that people are trying to be, hiding their intentions. I would fully suspect that report by Kevin, and Kevin used to be a beat writer in Minnesota, still lives here, is fiction for the other 32 teams, whether it be the Patriots or the Cardinals or San Diego. I do the same thing, Pay. The Chargers or whomever that they might trade with. Are you guys hearing any sort of smoke in your markets? June?
Oh boy. It's been kind of quiet.
Yeah. From what I'm seeing is that it's kind of a best player available type deal for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been Campbell's just basically said that he's steadfast in our strategy, and I saw something I heard something interesting on the radio about Brock Bowers falling down, and they were speculating would the Lions actually go and draft yet another
tight end.
And it was really it was a legitimate talk. I mean, this is just radio personalities, but there was somebody had come out with a mock draft where he was kind of just falling because as teams things change. And there was real talks about whether or not they would make that decision. Just another weapon. At the time, Brock Wright, our backup, ironically, another Brock, was in the talks of possibly going to San Francisco. So it made it even a little bit more spicy with that. I think that's out the window now because I think Brock Wright actually got some decent money out the deal, 3 years, 12 million, and 6 guaranteed. But I wasn't just so. I mean, he was. I mean, that's the top. That's the consensus top tight end. Another weapon. Josh Reynolds left, so we do have a void as far as
Foster, no.
receivers.
Foster,
Hey,
Foster.
June says this, and he also says he don't trust Brad. He doesn't like the picks that Brad Holmes, but I don't think he wanted Sam Laporta either. I think he made the same face when we got Sam Laporta, as opposed to the Notre Dame tight end that was the consensus number one. So another weapon. Hey, Brock Bowers is a really good player.
Foster. Wait. We're not entertaining this. We are not entertaining this. No.
Why?
I kind of like this. Go on.
Sam Laporta, you just signed Brock for $12 million. What do we need?
No. I was saying before. I was saying that's pretty much off the table now. So yeah, a third tight end makes 0 sense.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay. I would hope so with glaring need. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But previous to that, I can't say I would just be, unless something ridiculous came up, and that's the reason why he fell to nearly out of the first round. But he is a super talented player, and I feel like you could line him up in a wide receiver set. The dude runs a 4.46 according to the the numbers. I mean,
Can we delete this broadcast after this?
If you guys draft him, I want to come on your show
I
and
don't
laugh.
want nothing like this to get into Brad Holmes' office at all.
Hey,
I mean, TJ Hockenson was a good tight end too. We actually haven't missed on tight ends in a while.
Yeah, you've been good at drafting them.
My man Foster he's got that smoke. He's all with it. I like it. I like it.
That's my guy. That's my guy, but no Foster.
Pay what's floating out of Chicago.
To stay with the theme, I think a lot of the smoke that I hope is just smoke. There's no fire going along with it. I hope it's just vape smoke. That we trade back from number 9 and get some sort of fan made haul or whatever that may be. And that's picking up a lot of steam. Again, staying with the theme. I hope not. I really do. And this is just me as a matter of as a general rule. Again, you don't trade back when you're not a good team. At number 9, you need better players. You need those type of roster building pillars that's going to be there for a while. The Bears last year was they won 7 games. The year before they won 3. They traded back twice in the first round last year. You can't do that again a year later. Whoever, and I do think there's going to be some type of chicanery in the top 7 of picks of the first round. You may end up with one of those top 2 wide receivers sitting right at you at 9. You may end up sitting at 9 and seeing both of the top 2 tackles staring right at you. Jared Verse, some other names. Brock Bowers, as Foster, he wants. There could be a lot of elite talent sitting right there, turning that corner at 9. And trading back, I hope not. But it's out there. It's floating.
I'm seeing a lot of mocks showing you picking up Odunze at 9. Does that make sense?
At 9, yeah, that makes perfect sense for him. I'm not the more with every passing day, I get more comfortable with the Bears drafting a wide receiver in the first round. I would prefer that they wait, but our track record with this general manager is not great at drafting wide receivers, especially late. So if he has an actual like blue chipper standing in his face, then salute, do your thing. Um, yeah, I would think a doozy. I'm not gonna mess up his name. Him at 9. He would probably be the best player available. So I wouldn't be mad at that.
I think that'd be an actually decent move for you guys, just as long as you got a quarterback that can throw to him. Which
If
you
we
should.
don't, yeah, we better. uh, if we hadn't extended Keenan Allen up to that point yet, then it puts us in a better negotiating advantage with him on his extension, because we did just draft a wide receiver, a wide receiver that we expect to be our top line guy by the time his first round deal is up.
Friend of mine, Mateo the Potato, says as long as it's not neighbors, he doesn't want his LSU guys to have their career end before they start.
That's me. That's me.
Mateo, it's good to see you, buddy. Hey, Chicago should be on the upswing. Lord knows they've been bad enough long enough and drafted enough people that they should start to improve, and they saw it at the end of last year. And they had some quality play at the beginning of the year, but they made poor decisions coaching-wise, and they blew it. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, that ends the smoke segment. Is there any news coming out of your respective cities concerning your team that the rest of the NFC North would like to hear? Hey, have you got anything more?
No, it's been all quiet, man. I'm glad for that as well. So the only thing that's, I guess, been news, I don't know if NFC North cares to hear about this, but there have been some more talks between the Chicago Bears and the mayor of Chicago as far as moving, what they want to do after Soldier Field, or but this is years down the line. But these things don't happen in a vacuum. These things are 5-10 years in preparation for. But that's probably been the only news that's happened. Other than that, they're trying to do the homework on who they want to draft. Later this month. We only got 4 draft picks, so good thing so they can do a double time. Spend the block a couple of times on those guys they're interested in.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I think they've already decided they're going with a dome stadium so they can do other things. Super Bowl, Final Fours, hockey, whatever, right? It's just a matter of precise location.
Yeah, they would like to do that. I think the Bears and the Chicago would be interested in doing a dome for that reason, for the year-round revenue opportunities that would present. But it's clear to me that the Bears wouldn't own this building, so they'll just be getting a percentage of whatever revenue comes out of it year-round. That building would belong to the Chicago Park District, so it improves all of that all around. So yeah, that would be perfect for the Bears. It would make them more competitive during the cold months, because you've always heard it, bear weather. Bear weather don't even like the Bears. The Bears lose in cold weather all the time. So put a dome on it, and let's build us a fast track team, and let's try to move into the 20th century.
Well, the Minnesota has the same setup. The Wilfs do not own U.S. Bank Stadium. The Park District, or whatever the equivalent is in Minnesota, does, or the state does, and it's a that sort of building. Now, written in the contracts, there's a lot of income that comes off of that for the
Mhm.
Wolves. But that's why you guys hired the same guy that did ours. So hopefully it turns out right and they don't cheap out on it, because the last thing we like to see is a brand new shiny stadium that's done cheaply. Do it right. Build quality.
That wouldn't be Chicago way.
June, is there any news out of Detroit?
Man, it's been so quiet. It's scary. There was some mention, um, smoke screens are everywhere where Brad Holmes had said he wanted to go a certain direction in the draft, and Dan Campbell said something totally opposite. So there was a couple of days where they were talking about that, but it's pretty much been really quiet. Like the biggest news has been the signing of a backup tight end, and Cam Sutton has actually turned himself in. So it's been predominantly quiet on that front. Um, there's a lot of sports shows that speculating what's going to happen though, but they don't know. This is just they're creating scenarios just purely for entertainment. That's how quiet it is.
Wow.
I do have some news in the social as far as the social media is concerned. Actually, the Lions fans have been getting a little bit of flack. One from rumors of Josh Reynolds' camp. Josh Reynolds was obviously the receiver we had last year, and they said that his camp had encouraged him to seek out other offers because of the toxicity of the Lions fans, and I guess he was kind of getting attacked due to his NFC championship performance. But also outside of that, which he denounced, he came out and denounced, but also, C.J. Gardner Johnson came out and said that the Lions fans turned on him quick, and I don't know. There's no telling what people have been saying about him. I think the logical and thinking Lions fans were pretty much understood the fact that he was injured last year. He wanted to be a starter, guaranteed a starting position. We had kind of filled that void. We appreciate him coming back, yada yada yada. But go get your money if you want to go get your money. So, but yeah, he's even gone to like kind of attacking his former teammates and kind of taking some shots at their non-willingness to hang out in the scene with the locals, and it's just like, all right, man, this is the reason why the Eagles fans hated you when you left, because you talk a little too much, and it's like, just bow out, do your thing. We happy for you. You got your bread. It is what it is. But that was kind of annoying how he basically said that we flipped on him, and how him and JMO were the only people that weren't scared to hang out at night, and it's like, we allowed you to do that, by the way, CJ. If we wanted to make it uncomfortable for you, we could have done that as well. So, congratulations. Yeah,
Well,
have fun in Philadelphia.
if there's any excuse me, if there's any truth and stock into fans turning on him, I mean, how much are they supposed to be invested in? You played 5 games for him. You haven't been here very long. You haven't played very much. So, what kind of stock is someone going to put into you if you leave? Like, there's
The little ski mask and all that. Like, come on,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
it's not going to be one of those things where it's like, we're going to miss you. No, you played 5 games. You left. There's not going to like they treated Matt Stafford really
I
good
was,
until we had to face him.
I was gonna say, like, what you think, you Matt Stafford or something? Like,
I mean, that's pretty much what it was. I mean, like I don't think there's a lot of fans that really talk down about him or give him the kind of attention. We knew he was
I'm
here
sure
for a year.
somewhere.
Most
Yeah.
people sign for a year for a reason. It's just it's a chance that you're taking, signing somebody for a year. They could leave, they could stay. You don't know. So I don't think. And like I said, you play 5 games. We pretty much ain't gonna miss what we never had. So
Mhm.
it is what it is as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm. Now, there's been a conversation in here. Dean says, incorrect, Dave. The Wilfs just paid off the stadium 25 years early. They paid off their bond early. When all the stadium negotiation happened, I was over with Daily Norseman. We still do stuff over there. We were at the forefront of that. It was going to be $1 billion stadium at the time when US Bank was being built. And then when it came in under budget, but I think the full budget was like 1.2 billion. The Vikings were on the hook for like 600 million or 660 million. They were over half of it. They were on the hook to build. The others came from various taxes, the luxury taxes of your hotels and all the other stuff that go into a fund within Minneapolis to pay for stadiums, not just US Bank, but the other stadiums there. When all that happened, it is Minnesota, and I believe it's part of the state or part of the city, owns the stadium itself. Because they paid that chunk, it's just the Vikings paid for most of that, and they paid for a lot of the upgrades since, and they will continue to. But there is a joint deal on that, but technically it's a state building and not a Vikings building. Vikings own everything over in Eagan, but they do not own US Bank Stadium. And I think Chicago's probably working out the same sort of deal for them. But but they did raise the taxes. All that stuff is there, and that's why it remains part of Minneapolis, and that they signed a contract to be there for, I think it's 30 or 40 years. That's just the way it is, and then they can redo it after that. But it's also part of that contract that it remains a top 10 stadium, and that's why earlier this year you heard rumblings that there needs to be like $100 million worth of upgrades done to keep it at that level. And I remember when St. Louis, who was that? I want to say Benke. It's not Benke. The owner of the Rams left and went to L.A. because he said St. Louis didn't keep up. Conkey, yes, didn't keep up on that part of the stadium agreement where it has to be a top 10. But that's the whole reason. The Vikings don't own it. They get a good chunk of the take because they helped build it, but technically they do not own it. But they've paid off all their bonds. So all the income that comes now from the stadium goes direct back to the Wilfs. They're good business people. That's how they made their money.
I think the only privately owned sports venue in Chicago is the Wrigley Field. I'm not sure about United Center where the Bulls play, but I know Kaminsky, U.S. Cellular, Guaranteed Rate, the dump where the Sox play, and Soldier Field. They're owned by the Chicago Park District.
Yep. So it's because they are such large projects. It usually takes multiple sources to get them done. So that's the way that goes. Now, the only bit of news that came out of Minnesota, besides all the smoke and the debate of whether we're trading 3 first-round draft choices and Justin Jefferson to the Patriots,
Yes.
Patriots fans have that in their head. There's no way that's happening. Think of the Tyreek Hill trade. Justin would have at least equal value for that, and for the Dolphins to get that, it was a first, a second, and then a handful of other lesser round picks to get Tyreek Hill. There's no way that the Vikings are giving up 2 firsts this year, a first next year, and then the equivalent of another first, a second, and a whole bunch of others. Not going to happen. That's way overpaying. They can go take a short or a long walk on a short pier out in Boston Harbor if they think that's going to be the case. It's not going to happen. So whether we trade with the Patriots, that's clearly up in the air. That could happen, but Justin Jefferson's not going to be part of that. People are getting their hopes way too high if they think that's going to happen. They're smoking something in Boston if that's the case. So it's not. But speaking of Justin Jefferson, tonight on The Real Forno Show over on Vikings First and Skull, Tyler is talking about the 2025 salary cap situation for the Minnesota Vikings, and that directly relates to Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw, because we're going to have, I think right now we're sitting at like 102 million in salary cap space. Well, those two young men, especially Justin Jefferson, are going to eat up a good chunk of those. So we're going to talk about that later on Vikings First and Skull, the Real Fornos Show, here at 6 p.m. Central. So tune in for that discussion. Too Evil says he just read an article that Josh Dobbs said Jaron Hall is our franchise QB, so the Vikings do not need to draft one now. Sweet. Yes, Too Evil, there are people that do illicit drugs and write. It's the only answer to that. I have no way. And Doc, yes, JJ trade rumors are way too high. It's not going to happen as much as Pay wants it to. It's not. Pay, where can they find you on the interwebs?
On the interwebs, we are located wherever you get your video fix from, whether that be TikTok, or at the Chicago Bear Club there, whether that be YouTube where you're watching this show live, we're at the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan, or whether that be Facebook. Check us out there as well at the Bear Club podcast at Hallis Hall. If you're just into listening to my voice audio wise, we're everywhere you get your podcast feed. That's Apple, Spotify, no longer Google Podcasts. That's a thing of the past. It's like Blockbuster now. YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Stitcher, wherever you can find a podcast, we're there. Check us out.
Just ask your smart device to play the Bear Claw podcast, and it'll pop up.
Alexa, take care of you.
She's not the only one. I don't want to say, because I got one sitting right here, about 3 feet from my arm, and she will start playing it.
Yes.
Too Evil, not the Bear Claw, the Bear Claw, DA. You got to think Chicago. You know how they speak.
That's correct.
Foster, where can they find you?
YouTube at Motor City Metrics, Bleachers to Speakers, and all podcast platforms, Bleachers to Speakers.
Gotcha. June, I'm seeing a ton of Motor City Metrics videos coming up. Are you building an empire there in Detroit?
It's baseball season, and Motor City Metrics has a platform that talks Tigers, and they have a lot of followers there, and they have a big audience. We're trying to achieve that goal because they're doing great numbers. Our podcast can be found there as well, as Foster mentioned. That's Bleachers to Speakers. Also, the Bleachers to Speakers YouTube channel is brand new. So please subscribe to that. Foster does a tremendous job with the player profiles that we post on there. And those are very well players that could be on your team. So he does a little scouting report. He does his homework and talks about all the free agents and the draft prospects. It's a nice little bit on there. So go in there and check it out. Subscribe. If you're going to the audio feed, all podcast streaming platforms, download the episodes, follow us. We'll have a lot of material this week and next week, new material, but there's plenty of old material in there as well. So check us out.
Well, and I highly encourage Vikings fans and Bears fans, as you're prepping for the draft, and we're just about 3 weeks away from tomorrow, from the draft, that you go check out players that you're interested, that the Vikings are interested in, that the Bears are interested in, and of course Lions fans are checking them out too. Green Bay, you can do your own thing. But go ahead and check it out. Foster does do very, very good work, and it's a different opinion. It's not just Tyler. It's not just the normal guys you hear. It's a different set of eyes, and you might catch something new on that. So it's pretty cool. Doc Proto, one of my guys, asked Pay, what's the best pizza pie in Chicago?
I was just responding to that. That's the best question of the day so far. Let's talk pizza, man. All right. So top 5 best pizza places in Chicago. Number 5, Italian Fiesta. Number 4, and this one's a little bit more niche, but they've been rated very highly for the last 10 years. In fact, if you go to Yelp, look at their pizza rankings, they're rated in the top 5 yearly. That's Pequod's Pizza, and they only got 2 locations in Chicago, so you got to do a little digging for them. Number 3, one of my favorites, Home Run Inn. That's a national. They're more of a national brand now, but they are really good. They have sit down restaurants in Chicago, one of the best. Number 2, Illuminati's. I love Illuminati's. They've got the best crust and the best sauce combination you will find in Chicago. Even better crust than Home Run Inn. Number 1, Geno's East.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
I wish when I was up in Chicago, I'd tasted some of those. I think I've been to Illuminati's, but I'm not quite sure. That sounds great, and I'm sure our viewers love that information. Next week, we'll continue the draft countdown here for the NFC North teams. We're sure there's going to be some more smoke. There may be a trade or two. Who knows? But we encourage you all to check us out over on Fans First Sports Network. All the audio, all the video, see their YouTube channels. It's in the remarks too, so you can click and go right over. And over on the written side, you'll see some stuff as well. With that, what do we say, Pay?
Bear down.
June?
The Lions flush.
And as always, Skull Vikings! Like, subscribe, and rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Thank you for listening to this NFC North group effort on the Fans First Sports Network. This has been the Bear Claw Podcast. Bleachers to Speakers. Vikings First and Skull. And of course, the Fans First Sports Network production. Thank you for listening.